We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana. Coming up in the next hour. India welcomes the release of 8 Indian nationals detained in Qatar. 7 out of the 8 of them have returned to India.
We have waited almost 18 months to be back in India. We're extremely grateful to the Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji. It certainly wouldn't have been possible without his personal intervention.
After France, Mauritius and Sri Lanka to get UPI connectivity, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with heads of state of both countries to witness historic launch. RuPay card services will also be launched in Mauritius. In Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif's party PMLN and Bilawal Bhutto's PPP decides to work together. PMLN also secures support of PTI-backed independent Imran Khan's party to continue protest over poll rigging. And in tennis, India's Sumit Nagal scripts history by entering top 100 for first time in career to become a player ranked 98 in the world as champion of the ATP Chennai Open Challenger. Head on to the top story. In a significant diplomatic victory, India secured the release of 8 nationals previously convicted to death in Qatar. 7 out of the 8 of them returned to India this morning. In its official statement, the Ministry of External Affairs welcomed the decision, saying the Government of India welcomes the release of 8 Indian nationals working for the Dahara Global Company who were detained in Qatar. 7 out of the 8 of them have returned to India. We appreciate the decision by the Amir of the State of Qatar to enable the release and homecoming of these nationals.
Let's have 3 cheers for India. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai! Bharat Mata ki Jai!
Well, the release shows India's growing stature in the Committee of Nations due to strong political leadership on international issues. It also depicts Prime Minister Narendra Modi's wider acceptance and global rating among the top world leaders, and further his ability to bring all top leaders of the world on the same page. The recent example being the unanimous adoption of the G20 declaration. One thing this government has always shown in complete solidarity towards any Indian stranded abroad, which even the returnees said upon arrival. Listen in.
The intervention of Prime Minister Modi, it won't be.
We have waited almost 18 months to be back in India. We're extremely grateful to the Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji. It certainly wouldn't have been possible without his personal intervention and that equation with the Emir of Qatar. I think we are grateful to the Government of India, the bottom of our heart, for the every effort that has been made, and this day wouldn't have been possible without it.
वापस इंडिया पहुंच गए हम सेफ एंड साउंड और डेफिनेटली ऑनरेबल प्राइम मिनिस्टर श्री मोदी को धन्यवाद करना चाहेंगे कि उनके पर्सनल इंटरवेंशन से ये पॉसिबल हुआ और गवर्नमेंट ऑफ कतार के हिज एक्सेलेंसी द अमीर को कि उन्होंने ये होने दिया.
And now, Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, former retired Chief of Integrated Defence Staff, joins us for more. Welcome to DD India, sir. Also joining us is my colleague Amritpal. Well, sir, my first question to you. This is a beautiful Monday morning. Nothing could be better. Returning of Indian nationals back home after their release. How significant and a big diplomatic win is it for the country?
Namaskar, Lipakshi, and thank you for getting me on this program. I'm happy that you have got me on your show on such a important day, such an important news. You know, without doubt, the highest level intervention or request from Prime Minister Modi to Honorable Excellency, the Emir of Qatar, which just could not be sort of used because of Prime Minister Modi's own stature in the world, which we have seen, which you mentioned in your headlines. Gradually, over a period of time, these 18 months, the graduated approach or graduated approach from the officials of MEA right up to going up to our Honorable Foreign External Affairs Minister and finally by the Prime Minister, it has really had its own impact. Except for Honorable the Excellency Emir, nobody could have pardoned this because it was a very serious charge and the sentence is death. Therefore, the courts went by what was told to them. And I'm sure that it was caused by some kind of confusion or some kind of not very confirmed news of their spying. As you know that our Indian team was working with a group of companies, Sahara Group, which was training the Qatari naval officers on the usage or the utility or the application of submarine warfare. And Qatar is buying a submarine, which is well known. And somebody put an allegation that they are sharing with Israel. Which apparently, may not have been proven because when we asked for consular access and thereafter we raised the level, I think the court also mellowed down. But the Prime Minister's intervention, Prime Minister Modi's intervention at highest level, it just shows the heft, the diplomatic heft and the political heft our Prime Minister commands over all the world. And our equation, Dipakshi, if you see with the GCC country has been extremely cordial. You take individual countries, both sides of the Gulf, whether they are monarchies or it is Iran or any Shia Sunni divide, India has very good equation with all these countries. And therefore, it is necessary for India to maintain that diplomatic heft, and our External Affairs Minister is doing that very well.
Well, my next question to you, Amrit, as Vice Admiral Sinha also explained the entire case, the elevation of diplomatic relations between the two countries after the recent meeting of the PM Modi and Amir of Qatar is very evident.
Well, we've had friendly relations with Qatar. We have a lot of expatriates working there, sending a lot of remittances. We buy natural gas from them. The scope of the relationship is expanding. But as Admiral Sinha was pointing out, that the diplomatic heft of India is increasing by the day as it grows in its economic stature, in its military stature, its engagement with the world on important issues. You mentioned G20 declarations, International Solar Alliance, etc. And how increasingly the world is listening to India's position. So I think in this particular case, the push, of course, the diplomatic engagement, the legal assistance to these former naval officers who were charged with the charges they were charged with, and then the political push at the top political level is what finally led to the release of these 8 Indian nationals and former naval officers and men. And I think it is, in that sense, a big victory, diplomatic victory for India. Lipakshi?
Yeah, right. My next question to you, Vice Admiral Sinha, sir. The entire episode was shrouded in secrecy. Their charges and all. How tough was this a case for the Indian government to secure their release?
Well, Indian government took a very graduated approach. Initially, the MEA watched the individual officers or the naval guys who were in there, to see that if they are being given a consular access. But however, since no hearing was done for a long time, then the consular access was seized, and the first consular access was actually given on telephone. And thereafter, it was gradually the pressure was, or rather the legal process was increased. Then the court hearing was done, and after a few court hearings, the court decided that probably it did not deserve a death sentence. It was converted into a penalty of life sentence. But the Indian government, the MEA, did not give up. Our Honorable External Affairs Minister, he took it up at his own level. But thereafter, there is an opportunity where the Excellency Emir of Qatar, he was in the meeting where Prime Minister on the sidelines, Prime Minister Modi met him on the sidelines, and I'm very confident that Prime Minister Modi would have made the mention of this, and the Emir apparently could not have just refused because of, as Amrit Pal said, that India's political and diplomatic heft. So I think the scaling up is graduated as the legal procedure demands, because the urgency on the part of the families is absolutely understandable. You know, we were all, being ex-naval officer, we were all in touch with the families. So there was a little bit of urgency. There was a little bit of, will it happen, will it not happen? But the MEA really worked with a lot of patience and a lot of diplomatic niceties till such time it became quite evident that now the time has come for the Honorable Prime Minister to make an intervention, which he did. And thereafter, the Emir saw the entire case, and I'm sure that that must have led, and the Prime Minister's intervention, that must have led to the release of these officers. Lipakshi.
Also, sir, could you help us understand, our viewers understand, that how grave are the spying charges, especially if we talk about the international waters in relation to this case especially?
Lipakshi, it's a very, very serious charge, and there cannot be any more serious charge than this. And as the court had given the sentence of death sentence to these officers, it is very natural if it happens in India, probably spying charge, anything could happen, death sentence or maybe a life imprisonment, whatever the law says. But I think sharing state secret with another country, an adversarial country, is a very serious charge, and it leads to the maximum punishment which is permissible as per the legal processes in that country. And here it was death sentence, and therefore pardoning them was only in the hands of the Excellency the Amir. That is number one. The courts could have only gone that far, and possibly courts went far because of they saw the MEA's intervention, the Foreign Ministry of Qatar, our Foreign Minister, our External Affairs Minister's intervention. All that would have probably taken it to the level of life imprisonment, commuting the death sentence to life imprisonment, and then the Prime Minister Modi himself, he would have positively spoken to the Excellency Amir. So it's a very serious charge, Lipakshi. As I said, the highest punishment is reserved for, spying charges of any country. This amounts to attack on the state, Lipakshi.
All right. MEA's persistence, of course, was great. Amrit, my next question to you. India's goodwill and friendly stance globally has been redefining relations with nations across the world. Is this recent development, getting the sentence commuted first and now the release of its nationals, a reflection of India's global relationships or resurgence of Bharat, which is now becoming very evident?
It is very evident. I mean, as Admiral Sinha was saying, getting these people released, commuting the death sentence to a life sentence or a long-term imprisonment sentence, and then finally getting them released, because these were really grave charges. Espionage is not taken lightly in any country around the world. And here in this case, the charges were that they were passing on information to Israel, etc. Now you know the sensitivities of the Arab world when it comes to Israel. So, the courts should have, of course, looked at what the legal evidence is. But for the Amir of Qatar to take that step to, pardon them, grant them pardon. He pardons people during Ramzan and Eid, etc. But, it's very, very rare that it is done on these kind of charges, because they are very grave charges. We're not going into the technicalities of how true these charges were, what sort of evidence exists, because a lot of that is not in public domain as yet, because of the sensitivity of the case. But of course, when the courts reduced the charges, the courts would have taken some sort of evidence in account after India provided legal assistance. But then the big political step to grant pardon to them by the Amir of Qatar, it does speak of what you are referring to, the growing diplomatic, the growing heft of India at the world stage. We see it in we've seen it in other fora, from G20 to the International Solar Alliance, how India's voice is heard at the UN, etc. Bilaterally, we see that other countries consulting us at the regional level, or be it the global alliances like the Quad, etc. So your stature in the world is increasing, and what this outcome we've been able, the country has been able to secure is a direct outcome, is a direct fallout of that, Lipakshi.
All right, my next question to you, sir. I would like to know very briefly, what does it speak of India's political leadership on international issues, especially PM Modi's wider acceptance among the top global leaders and his ability to bring all the top leaders of the world on the same page?
No, Lipakshi, I think you brought a very important point, and Amrit was also making that point. Today, Prime Minister Modi, Narendra Modi, is the most popular leader in the world. I believe his last known rating was 76%, and I'm sure it is increasing by the day. As Amrit mentioned in various forums, the stand of India, and it is not for any reason that the many issues which are a little bit of, they have a rough edge, which can create a rough edge between two countries or in a multilateral fora. We've seen that in the, Niger case. We have also seen in Pannun case, where Prime Minister Modi has assured them that, we are investigating the case, and based on that, our bilateral relations have remained absolutely on track. In fact, if anything, it has increased. So it is the political heft, the personal heft of Prime Minister Modi, which is backed up very well by External Affairs Minister Dr. Jaishankar and our diplomatic staff everywhere. So I would say that today India is in a very good position politically, diplomatically on the world stage. And I think this is right time that, India could secure a permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council. And I recall I just attended the Indian Ocean Conference in Perth. Honorable EAM mentioned that, yes, it will happen, but it may take some time.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your insights and joining us. And thank you, Amrit, for joining us and giving your insights. Thank you. And moving on, shifting to another significant story of the day, India's Unified Payment Interface, or UPI services, will be launched in Mauritius and Sri Lanka today. Besides this, RuPay card services will be launched in Mauritius. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of Mauritius Pravind Jugnauth, and Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe will witness the historic launch via video conferencing. The launch will enable availability of UPI settlement services for Indian nationals travelling to Sri Lanka and Mauritius, as well as for Mauritian nationals travelling to India. Further, the extension of RuPay card services in Mauritius will enable Mauritian banks to issue cards based on RuPay mechanism in Mauritius and facilitate usage of RuPay cards for settlements both in India and Mauritius. Given India's robust cultural and people-to-people linkages with Sri Lanka and Mauritius, the launch will benefit a wide cross-section of people through a faster and seamless digital transaction experience and enhance digital connectivity between the countries. And now we have Sabimal Bhattacharya, expert IT and digital services, joining us, and also DD India correspondent Dr. Ahmed Mayoon Farooqi joining us from Colombo. Welcome to the show, sir. Sir, my first question to you, I would like to know, India's UPI system is now a successful global template, widely admired, and India has emerged as a leader as far as fintech innovation is concerned or digital public infrastructure is concerned. How do you see the launch today?
The question is to me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, definitely. This is a very significant milestone. Last month, if you see, the UPI has been now functional in France, where people can book their tickets in Eiffel Tower. I think, coming closer, particularly Sri Lanka and Mauritius, two countries, where a large number of people from the lower strata would also be able to communicate. And that's a big, significant development. If you see the Government of India's approach on the digital public infrastructure, particularly from the G20 summit in September last year, and then subsequently all the efforts to provide the UPI to the global South countries, I think this is a very important step, because India's wide experience in successfully allowing a platform for all kinds of people to do transactions seamlessly in a secure way. I think this is what everyone wants. And even if you look at the success story in India, the number of transactions that have been happening, for example, even if you take for January, between rupees 1 and 500, 83 or 84% of the transactions have happened. So if you see the common man, a vegetable vendor, a rickshaw puller today in remote parts of the country are also using this mechanism to make the payment. So this popularity, this sense of empowerment that people in the lower strata also have, this is something that in Sri Lanka and Mauritius, it will be very helpful for their people. But at the same time, even Indian tourists who go to those two countries in large numbers and have a significant impact on the economy of those two countries, the Indian people can use their UPI to do a lot of their bookings and other arrangements. And likewise, the people from those countries can do. So I think this is very, very significant. And really, India is trying to use fintech to reach out to the global South countries, and particularly these two neighbors who really would benefit.
All right. Also, Ahmed, we would like to know from you now. The UPI launch will benefit a wide cross-section of people through this faster and seamless digital transaction. What is the level of excitement about this launch there in Sri Lanka?
Lipakshi, it's a very important development today. Primarily speaking, you see, the UPI launch was something that was announced last year by Prime Minister Narendra Modi when Sri Lanka President Ranil Wickremesinghe had visited India in July. But after that, all the systems have been put in place. Now, the one crucial thing that we have to talk about here is that UPI has emerged as a global leader in terms of digital transactions. Especially if we talk about the lower segment of the transactions, we have seen a huge number that have been happening in India, and that has happened primarily on UPI. Now, Lanka QR, which is being operated by Lanka Pay, already exists with over 4 lakh merchant establishments here in Sri Lanka. Now, providing the access to these merchant establishments directly to make payments in Indian national rupees, it's something that will be a game changer, especially for the tourism sector. India already is the #1, the top source market for tourism for many countries, including Sri Lanka. In January alone, we had more than 30,000 Indian tourists arriving in Sri Lanka, and they have been spending a huge number of money. And till now, what had happened was they had to convert their Indian rupees to dollars and then dollars to Lankan rupees. Now, that particular hassle of converting the currencies has been completely taken off. And you can directly, using your UPI-enabled application, you can make the payment, and that will directly be debited from your account and credited to the merchant establishment's account. And that will be the seamless kind of thing. And the entire, the Lankan, the central bank as well as Lanka Pay, they are thrilled with regard to the launch, and they are hoping that the positives that we have in India will be transferred even to Sri Lanka as well. Lipakshi.
All right. My next question to you, sir. As you said, a major significant step, and you spoke about the UPI. How will the extension of RuPay card services in Mauritius help the public there?
Definitely, even the RuPay card has a lot of significance because, whatever instrument is issued by the banks in those countries using RuPay, that also facilitates, their seamless payment possibilities everywhere. If you see, wherever since RuPay has come, its popularity, its capacity to take on the kind of the monopoly that Visa and MasterCard has been having for all these years. So I think it has very, very successfully been stabilized, and steadily it has become a sort of platform which a lot of banks are using in this country. So similarly in Mauritius, the banks and other financial institutions can use the RuPay card to facilitate that, and that has all the advantages that any one else like Visa or MasterCard always had.
Well, sir, in all this, one major aspect is that Prime Minister Modi has placed a strong emphasis on sharing our development experiences and innovation with partner countries. How do you see this development in this context?
Absolutely. This is, I think, as I mentioned earlier, this is one of the most important things that goes to the global south. The countries which have large number of people are on the lower strata of the society. So, the success that India did with the DPI, when it came to giving the unique identity via Aadhaar, and then UPI being, something that has been implemented so well in a very secure and easy manner. See, a lot of people are not necessarily, educated to that extent to understand all the technicalities behind. But if as a normal usage, it is very seamless and you don't have to worry about security and all other things all the time when you do a transaction, those things have endeared it to the people. And as I also mentioned, and Mr. Farooqi mentioned, that the lower strata of the people have really benefited. Look at, just take one statistic that in the month of January, 18,41,000 crores of rupees has been transacted via UPI, and out of which 84% of that is between 0 to 500. Next 7% is between 500 and 1,000. So the popularity of, going to the last man and giving him an opportunity to transact digitally not only helps him in his transaction, but also gives him a sense of empowerment. This is what Prime Minister Modi has always shown, even in his governance in this country, and now using this success story to go to those countries and help the people there. So it's not only a kind of empowering India, but also empowering other countries and the people in those countries.
All right, sir. As you said, large transactions are being done. How do you think, in addition to tourism, this will help in easing bilateral trade, especially when India is expanding its trade relations extensively with its neighbors?
No, definitely. This is such an easy method to make a payment, and and it's absolutely a safe method of payment. It also helps in tracking or rather stopping the money laundering activities that happen also. So I think it gives definitely a boost to tourism. People can do all kinds of transactions seamlessly the way they do here in the country. So definitely, as India has or Indians have significant stake in the tourism sector and hence in the trade and commerce sector, both with Sri Lanka as well as with Mauritius. Now, this facility will help more and more people, to explore those countries. These are countries where they are very close by. They are really not very costly in terms of being a tourist destination. And so I would think a lot of Indians should be able to go there, and in the process, it enhances not only the economic prospects of those two countries, but it also helps improving the trade and, of course, the cultural relationships and bondings that is there, between the communities.
All right.
So it's a win-win on many, many counts.
All right. Also, Ahmed Farooqi, we would like to know from you that this facility will support, as we know, payment settlement services for Indian nationals, especially traveling to Sri Lanka. How do you think this will kind of boost people-to-people linkages?
Lepakshi, you see, firstly, primarily speaking, the Indian tourists have been increasing in Sri Lanka since the last few years. Especially after the COVID pandemic, we had seen India again became the #1 country which was sending the tourists to Sri Lanka. Now that is something which is very essential to further strengthen the linkages between the people of both sides. Now that is one thing that was talked about, that the connectivity would be the centerpiece with regard to the India-Sri Lanka relations. And this connectivity, again, if we are talking about the digital connectivity in terms of the fintech linkages, that will further boost the more number of tourists would be able to travel between the two countries, and that it ultimately it has a positive effect with regard to multiplier kind of an effect. More people could gain that experience, and they could further come here. They could build more friendships, and they have good number of relatives here across the border as well. So that will actually benefit the people living on both the sides with regard to developing bonds as well as friendly relations as we have been seeing in various places also, Vipakshi.
All right, thank you so much for this information, Ahmed, and thank you so much for joining us for DD India. And now, as you know, this is a significant thing to be happening as UPI, India's Unified Payment Interface, or UPI services, will be launched in Mauritius and Sri Lanka today. Besides this, RuPay card services will also be launched in Mauritius today. As we told you, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of Mauritius Pravind Jugnauth, and Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe will witness the historic launch today via video conferencing. Also, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay a 2-day visit to the United Arab Emirates, UAE, beginning Tuesday. During his visit, the Prime Minister will hold wide-ranging talks with President Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan and inaugurate the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. Here's a detailed report by DD India's Meghna Dev.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will pay an official visit to the UAE from 13th to 14th February. Looking at the frequent high-level exchanges between both the leaders, this will be Prime Minister Modi's 7th visit to the UAE since 2015 and the 3rd in the last 8 months. During the visit, Prime Minister will hold bilateral meetings with President of UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. PM Modi will also meet Vice President of UAE, Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum. At his invitation, PM Modi will participate in the World Government Summit 2024 to be held in Dubai as guest of honor and deliver a special keynote address at the summit. On 13th February, PM Modi will be addressing the Indian community at an event, Ahlan Modi, in Zayed Sports City in Abu Dhabi. The event is going to be the biggest Indian community summit in UAE. On 14th February, PM Modi will inaugurate the Baps Mandir, the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. The highly anticipated Baps Hindu Mandir, a magnificent pink sandstone temple built by Bochasa Navasi Akshar Purushottam Swaminarayan Sanstha, boasts intricate carvings and traditional architecture. It will serve as a spiritual sanctuary for the Hindu community in the UAE, estimated to be about 3.5 million. Meghna Dev's report, DD India.
Well, the Indian diaspora in the UAE is quite upbeat and looking forward to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit between February 13th and 15th. While this would be the Prime Minister's 7th visit to the UAE since 2015, Indians from across 7 Emirates are eager to hear him speak. DD India's Meghna Dev has filed this report.
I'm here at the Zayed Sports City Stadium, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be addressing a grand community event filled with people from the Indian diaspora.
This is going to be a big landmark for the Indians, and I have been there in this country for last 22 years. We are proud because of the Modi to say we are Indians and Hindus, and also he bring the Baps Hindu Mandir. This is going to be one of the marvelous castle for the country, and it is going to be more than 1,000 years. The people who can remember the old Hindus, they can proudly say that this is because of the Modi.
Modi and especially the rulers of the UAE, they have given the land for 15 acres to build a temple in the Middle East and especially in the Muslim countries.
The IT Delhi campus is going to be inaugurated here. So our Indian students as well as the UAE student will get a chance to get admitted into the IT campus here. It's a very big achievement for India. Indians, those who are coming here as a travelers, as a tourist, they can pay in the rupee here. That is also a big achievement. The UPI payment is applicable here. It is accessible here.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to UAE, which is going to happen on the 13th and 14th of February, which is going to be his 7th visit to the UAE. He will also be inaugurating the Baps Hindu Temple in Abu Dhabi, which will be a testimony of the growing relationship between India and UAE, and also serve as a spiritual sanctuary for the Indian community, the Indian diaspora, which resides in UAE. With camera person Pramod Negi and my colleague Ashwini Mishra, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Abu Dhabi.
And time now for a short break. Stay with us for more. Welcome back. You're watching DD India News. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, in the Indian state of Bihar, Nitish Kumar-led National Democratic Alliance government to face the floor test on Monday. On the first day of the assembly session, NDA government will prove the majority claim of the government in the state assembly. A series of meetings were held by the leaders of the political parties to thwart any possibility of defection. Parties are trying to flock together their MLAs to rule out the threat of poaching from their rival outfits. National Democratic Alliance leaders have said that they will confidently prove the majority in the House of 243 members. On the other hand, the opposition is tight-lipped over its strategy in the House. And now several Indian asset managers are moving or planning to move to India's newly developed high-tech financial hub, the GIFT City, located in the western state of Gujarat, in a bid to get better access to India's capital markets. Some offshore fund business currently operating from financial centers such as Dubai and Singapore are also expected to move into GIFT City. The asset managers are firming up their plans of relocating to the high-tech hub with an aim to optimally tap the potential of the Indian stock market, which currently moved up to the 4th position globally. The combined value of shares listed on Indian exchanges reached $4.33 trillion in January this year, overtaking Hong Kong, which stands at $4.29 trillion. For the Indian government is also promoting the Gujarat International Finance Tech City, better known as GIFT City, as a gateway for global capital and financial services for the economy, and is trying to attract companies through tax breaks and other incentives. And well, the Secretary General of ASEAN, Kao Kim On, arrived at India's capital, New Delhi, on Sunday evening on a 5-day visit. This is the first official visit by Kao to India since he assumed charge in January 2023. And now let's go live across to Delhi, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will distribute more than 1 lakh appointment letters to newly inducted recruits in government departments and organizations.
प्रधानमंत्री जी, रोजगार मेले की आज की नई कड़ी में 1 लाख से अधिक युवा केंद्र सरकार के अनेकानेक विभागों तथा संगठनों में नियुक्ति पत्र प्राप्त करने जा रहे हैं। कार्यक्रम के शुभारंभ के लिए मैं माननीय राज्य मंत्री डॉक्टर जितेंद्र सिंह जी से स्वागत संबोधन के लिए अनुरोध करती हूँ।
परम आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी, रोजगार मेला का ये क्रम जो आपकी प्रेरणा और आपकी कल्पना से प्रारंभ किया गया था, उसका एक और अंक लेकर के हम आज आपके सामने उपस्थित हैं। आपने अपने बहुमूल्य समय में से कुछ क्षण निकालकर हमारी हौसला अफजाई की, आपका बहुत बहुत आभार। प्रधानमंत्री जी, आज एक बार फिर आपके द्वारा बटन दबाते ही 1 लाख से अधिक नियुक्ति पत्र जारी कर दिए जाएंगे, जिनको प्राप्त करने वाले देश के भिन्न भिन्न राज्यों एवं केंद्र शासित प्रदेशों में फैले हुए हैं। और यद्यपि ये नियुक्तियां सरकारी विभागों में भिन्न भिन्न विभागों में की जा रही हैं, परंतु आज के इस रोजगार मेला की विशेषता ये भी है कि भारी संख्या में लगभग 10,000 नियुक्तियां अनुसूचित जनजाति के बच्चों के लिए आपके द्वारा स्थापित किए गए एकलव्य स्कूलों में अध्यापकों को लेकर के हैं, और ये इस सरकार की प्राथमिकता भी है। नियुक्ति पत्र के साथ साथ प्रत्येक उम्मीदवार को मिशन कर्मयोगी प्रारंभ की सुविधा भी उपलब्ध करवा दी जाएगी, ताकि वो अपने नए दायित्व को ग्रहण करने से पहले अपने आप को उसके लिए शिक्षित प्रशिक्षित कर सके। और सुखद संयोग ये कि नव निर्मातित होने वाले कर्मयोगी भवन की शिलान्यास भी इसी कार्यक्रम में आपके द्वारा होने वाला है। प्रधानमंत्री जी, आज जबकि आपके नेतृत्व में एनडीए सरकार के 10 साल मुकम्मल होने जा रहे हैं, तो प्रमाणित तौर पर आंकड़े ये दर्शा रहे हैं कि यूपीए के 10 साल के कार्यकाल की तुलना में आपके कार्यकाल में 10 साल से भी कम समय में सरकारी पदों पर नियुक्तियां कई गुना अधिक हुई। एससी, एसटी और ओबीसी की बैकलॉग वैकेंसी जो कई सालों से खाली पड़ी थी, उनकी पूर्ति भी कई गुना अधिक हुई और बरसों से रुकी हुई प्रमोशंस की भी स्ट्रीमलाइनिंग की गई। भारत सरकार में 3 प्रमुख रिक्रूटमेंट एजेंसीज हैं। यदि बात करें स्टाफ सिलेक्शन कमीशन की, तो यूपीए के 10 साल के कार्यकाल में 2,56,405 नियुक्तियां हुई, जबकि आपके नेतृत्व में 10 साल से भी कम अरसा में दुगने से भी अधिक 5,11,775। यदि बात करें रेलवे रिक्रूटमेंट बोर्ड की, तो यूपीए के कार्यकाल में 4,11,624 नियुक्तियां की गई, जबकि आपकी सरकार के द्वारा 4,92,605। इसी प्रकार यदि बैकलॉग वैकेंसीज की बात करें, शेड्यूल कास्ट, शेड्यूल ट्राइब और ओबीसीज के लिए जो निर्धारित रहती हैं, तो लगभग 150% अधिक नियुक्तियां पिछले 10 साल से भी कम अरसा में हुई। यूपीए के कार्यकाल में 1,08,034 और एनडीए सरकार के द्वारा आपके नेतृत्व में 2,93,475। इसी प्रकार यदि प्रमोशंस की बात करें, तो हमने वो मंजर भी देखा है, बहुत से सज्जन जिस पद पर नियुक्त होते 20, 25, 30 बरस अपनी सेवा देने के बाद वहीं से सेवानिवृत्त रिटायर हो जाते। उनके दफ्तर के कुलीग उनको फेयरवेल देते, मगर उनके दिल में दर्द रहता। हमने आपके नेतृत्व में उस विडंबना को भी दूर किया। मास प्रमोशंस 4,000, 2,000, 9,000 का सिलसिला प्रारंभ किया और उस स्टैग्नेशन को समाप्त करने का प्रयास हुआ। यदि महिलाओं की बात करें, तो यूपीए के कार्यकाल में जितनी भी नियुक्तियां हुई, उसमें महिलाओं की हिस्सेदारी मात्र 7 या 8% तक रहती है। आपके नेतृत्व में यह भागीदारी दुगनी से भी अधिक, औसतन लगभग 18% और कई रोजगार मेलों में तो महिलाओं की भागीदारी 20%, 22% भी रही। इतना ही नहीं, प्रधानमंत्री जी, आपने देशवासियों को ये जागरूकता भी पैदा की कि रोजगार का अर्थ केवल सरकारी नौकरी नहीं। आपने लाल किले से आह्वान किया स्टार्टअप इंडिया, स्टैंड अप इंडिया, और देश में स्टार्टअप्स की संख्या 350-400 से बढ़कर 1.25 लाख, 1.5 लाख तक पहुंच गई और हम स्टार्टअप की दुनिया में तीसरे दर्जे पर आन खड़े हुए। आपने अंतरिक्ष के दरवाजे खोल दिए और स्पेस स्टार्टअप्स की संख्या सिंगल डिजिट से बढ़ करके लगभग 200 तक पहुंच गई। आपने बायो मैन्युफैक्चरिंग स्कीम की बात की, तो बायो स्टार्टअप्स की संख्या 50 से बढ़कर के 6,000 तक पहुंच गई। आपने खादी उद्योग को बढ़ावा दिया और उसका टर्नओवर लगभग 4 गुना बढ़ गया। आपने बेरोजगारों के लिए अपनी जीविका स्वयं कमाने हेतु मुद्रा जैसी योजनाएं लाई और उसकी लाभार्थी भी 60 से 70% महिलाएं रहीं। आपने इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोजेक्ट्स को गति शक्ति प्रदान की और हजारों की संख्या में लोगों को रोजगार मिला। उदाहरण के तौर पर यूपीए के कार्यकाल में पीएमजीएसवाई सड़कों का निर्माण केवल 3,80,000 किलोमीटर हुआ था। आपके कार्यकाल में दुगने से भी अधिक, लगभग 8 लाख किलोमीटर। उदाहरण के तौर पर मेट्रो रेल पटरियों के निर्माण की गति यूपीए के कार्यकाल में मात्र 600 मीटर प्रति मास, आपके नेतृत्व में कई गुना बढ़ करके 6 किलोमीटर प्रति मास। और इसलिए जहां सरकारी नौकरियों में रोजगार उपलब्ध रहा, वहां दूसरे साधनों से भी रोजगार उपलब्ध करने का कार्य आपके नेतृत्व में हुआ है। और आज ये जो युवा आपके हाथों से नियुक्ति पत्र प्राप्त कर रहे हैं, ये भाग्यशाली हैं कि अगले 20-25 वर्ष भरपूर ऊर्जा और भरपूर क्षमता के साथ राष्ट्र निर्माण में इनको अपना आप समर्पित करने का अवसर रहेगा। और सन 2047 में जब आज़ाद हिंदुस्तान अपनी 100वीं सालगिरह मनाएगा और आपके सपनों के विकसित भारत का शताब्दी उत्सव मनाया जाएगा, तो उस शताब्दी उत्सव को संवारने का, निखारने का काम भी इन्हीं नवनियुक्त नौजवानों के हिस्से में आया है। परमात्मा इनको सामर्थ्य दे, इनको सद्बुद्धि दे। इसी कामना के साथ प्रधानमंत्री जी, एक बार पुनः आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद माननीय मंत्री जी। विकसित भारत में सरकारी सेवाओं को और अधिक नागरिक उन्मुख बनाने के लक्ष्य से मिशन कर्मयोगी क्रियान्वित किया जा रहा है। इस मिशन में जुटे सभी संस्थान एकीकृत रूप से एवं पूर्ण तालमेल के साथ मिलकर काम कर सकें, इस उद्देश्य से इन संस्थानों के लिए एक इंटीग्रेटेड ऑफिस कॉम्प्लेक्स कर्मयोगी भवन की परिकल्पना की गई है। मिशन कर्मयोगी के विजन को प्राप्त करने में यह इंटीग्रेटेड कॉम्प्लेक्स महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाएगा। इस अपेक्षा के साथ मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से विनम्र निवेदन करती हूँ कि इस कर्मयोगी भवन की आधारशिला रिमोट का बटन दबाकर रखें।
हमारे यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के दूरदर्शी नेतृत्व में भारत निरंतर विकास के नए कीर्तिमान स्थापित कर रहा है। विकसित भारत की इस यात्रा में जनसेवा, सुशासन पर विशेष बल दिया गया है। नागरिक आकांक्षाओं की पूर्ति में प्रशासन की भूमिका को देखते हुए प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी के विजन के अनुसार सिविल सर्वेंट्स की क्षमता विकास के लिए मिशन कर्मयोगी की स्थापना की गई।
मिशन कर्मयोगी कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग की दिशा में अपनी तरह का एक नया प्रयोग है। इस मिशन के जरिए सरकारी कर्मचारियों को उनकी सोच, अप्रोच को आधुनिक बनाना है, उनका स्किल सेट सुधारना है, उन्हें कर्मयोगी बनने का अवसर देना है।
इन्हीं प्रयासों की एक कड़ी है कर्मयोगी भवन, एक एकीकृत परिसर जो कि सिविल सेवकों की क्षमता निर्माण के लिए केंद्र बिंदु के रूप में उभरेगा। मिशन कर्मयोगी के कार्यान्वयन में जुटे संस्थान कर्मयोगी भारत SPV, कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग कमीशन, सचिवालय प्रशिक्षण और प्रबंधन संस्थान तथा कार्मिक और प्रशिक्षण विभाग के प्रशिक्षण विंग एकीकृत रूप से कार्य कर सके, इसके लिए इस इंटीग्रेटेड कॉम्प्लेक्स का निर्माण किया जा रहा है। कर्मयोगी भवन 2 चरणों में निर्मित हो रहा है। आज माननीय प्रधानमंत्री के कर कमलों के द्वारा इसके प्रथम चरण का शिलान्यास हो रहा है। कर्मयोगी भवन सभी प्रशिक्षण संस्थानों, सरकारी विभागों एवं जनसेवा में जुटे संस्थानों के बीच कोलैबोरेशन, कनेक्ट एवं कोऑपरेशन का सशक्त माध्यम बनेगा। इस भवन में क्षमता विकास के लिए विश्व स्तरीय सुविधाएं स्थापित की जा रही हैं। ये कर्मयोगी भवन वास्तव में माननीय प्रधानमंत्री के रीथिंक, रीइमेजिन एंड रिफॉर्म दृष्टिकोण की अभिव्यक्ति है, जो विकसित भारत के लक्ष्य को पूरा करने में एक निर्णायक भूमिका निभाएगा।
रोजगार मेले की आज की कड़ी एक बार फिर सामर्थ्य, सशक्तिकरण और विकास की अविस्मरणीय अमृत यात्रा का संदेश लाई है। इसी संदेश को जन जन तक पहुंचाती प्रस्तुत है एक लघु फिल्म।
विगत 10 वर्षों में देश के हर क्षेत्र में हुए विकास की गति से हर देशवासी गौरवान्वित है। देश के इस विकास में हमारी युवा शक्ति का अतुलनीय योगदान रहा है। आकांक्षा, ऊर्जा और उत्साह से लबालब युवा शक्ति के सपनों को पंख देने के लिए मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में पिछले 10 सालों में लगातार नए अवसर और नई संभावनाएं सृजित की गई हैं। रोजगार के नए अवसर पैदा हो रहे हैं। नए युवा उद्यमी भी रोजगार मांगने के बदले रोजगार देने वाले बन गए हैं। इसी सिलसिले की अगली कड़ी है रोजगार मेला। रोजगार मेला युवा शक्ति के साथ राष्ट्र निर्माण के सपने को सार्थक कर रहा है। रोजगार मेले के तहत भारत सरकार सहयोगी राज्य सरकारों के साथ युवाओं को सरल, समय सीमित और पारदर्शी तरीके से सरकारी नौकरियां प्रदान कर रही है।
केंद्र सरकार की योजनाओं को जमीन पर उतारने की सबसे बड़ी जिम्मेदारी आप सभी नवनियुक्त सरकारी कर्मचारियों पर है। जब आप जैसे लाखों युवा सरकारी सेवाओं से जुड़ते हैं तो नीतियों को लागू करने की स्पीड और स्केल भी बढ़ जाता है। इससे सरकार के बाहर भी रोजगार के अवसर तैयार होते हैं, साथ साथ कामकाज की नई व्यवस्था भी बनती है।
आज रोजगार मेले में देश भर में विभिन्न सरकारी पदों पर 1 लाख से ज्यादा युवाओं को जिम्मेदारियां सौंपी जा रही हैं। जोश और नए विचारों से ओतप्रोत ये युवा राजस्व विभाग, गृह मंत्रालय, उच्च शिक्षा विभाग, परमाणु ऊर्जा विभाग, रक्षा मंत्रालय, स्वास्थ्य एवं परिवार कल्याण मंत्रालय, जनजातीय मामले मंत्रालय इत्यादि में विभिन्न पदों पर राष्ट्र निर्माण में योगदान देंगे। इनमें दिल्ली पुलिस में 9,000 से अधिक हवलदार एवं सिपाही, राजस्व विभाग में 5,000 से अधिक कर निरीक्षक एवं कर सहायक, एम्स एवं केंद्र सरकार के अस्पतालों में 11,500 से अधिक डॉक्टर, नर्स एवं पैरामेडिकल कर्मचारी तथा दूर दराज के इलाकों में शेड्यूल्ड ट्राइब्स के बच्चों के लिए बने एकलव्य मॉडल विद्यालयों में 8,200 से अधिक अध्यापकों एवं प्राचार्यों के नियुक्ति पत्र सम्मिलित हैं। चाहे वो आधारभूत संरचना हो, औद्योगिक विकास हो, सांस्कृतिक नवजागरण हो, कृषि क्षेत्र का विकास और किसानों की बढ़ती समृद्धि हो, करोड़ों गरीबों के जीवन में उत्थान का नया सवेरा हो, या अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर भारत की बढ़ती साख और प्रभुत्व, यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी के कुशल नेतृत्व में गरीब कल्याण, युवा, अन्नदाता किसान तथा नारी शक्ति, इनको केंद्र में रखते हुए भारत ने पिछले 10 सालों में अभूतपूर्व परिवर्तन और विकास देखा है। इस नए भारत की आकांक्षाओं और विकसित भारत के लक्ष्य को पूर्ण करने के लिए इन नव नियुक्तों की क्षमता विस्तार हेतु मिशन कर्मयोगी के अंतर्गत लाखों कर्मयोगी प्रशिक्षित हो चुके हैं। विभिन्न पदों पर नियुक्त ये युवा अपनी ऊर्जा, उत्साह, सेवा और समर्पण के साथ राष्ट्र निर्माण में अपना योगदान देंगे और वैश्विक स्तर पर भारत को अग्रणी बनाने में महत्वपूर्ण भूमिका निभाएंगे।
अब मैं माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से अनुरोध करती हूं, 1 लाख से अधिक युवाओं को नियुक्ति पत्रों के वितरण के महाअभियान का शुभारंभ रिमोट का बटन दबाकर करें। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी से निवेदन है कि रोजगार मेले के इस विशेष अवसर पर अपने प्रेरणादायक आशीर्वचनों से हमें तथा राष्ट्र की युवा महाशक्ति को अनुग्रहित करने की कृपा करें।
मेरे प्यारे युवा साथियों, आज 1 लाख से ज्यादा युवाओं को सरकार में नौकरी के लिए नियुक्ति पत्र दिए गए हैं। आपने कड़ी मेहनत से अपनी ये सफलता हासिल की है। मैं आप सभी को और आपके परिवार को बहुत बहुत बधाई देता हूं। युवाओं को भारत सरकार में नौकरी देने का अभियान लगातार तेज गति से चल रहा है। पहले की सरकारों में नौकरी के लिए विज्ञापन जारी होने से लेकर नियुक्ति पत्र देने तक बहुत लंबा समय लग जाता था। इस देरी का फायदा उठाकर उस दौरान रिश्वत का खेल भी जमकर होता था। हमने भारत सरकार में भर्ती की प्रक्रिया को अब पूरी तरह पारदर्शी बना दिया है। इतना ही नहीं, सरकार का बहुत जोर है कि भर्ती प्रक्रिया एक तय समय के भीतर पूरी कर ली जाए। इससे हर युवा को अपनी योग्यता साबित करने का समान अवसर मिलने लगा है। आज हर युवा के मन में विश्वास है कि वो कड़ी मेहनत और अपनी प्रतिभा के दम पर अपनी जगह बना सकता है। 2014 के बाद से ही हमारा प्रयास रहा है कि नौजवानों को भारत सरकार के साथ जोड़कर उन्हें राष्ट्र निर्माण का सहभागी बनाएं। पहले की सरकार ने अपने 10 साल में जितनी सरकारी नौकरियां दी थी, उससे लगभग 1.5 गुना ज्यादा सरकारी नौकरी भाजपा की सरकार ने अपने 10 साल में दी है। आज दिल्ली में एक इंटीग्रेटेड ट्रेनिंग कॉम्प्लेक्स का भी शिलान्यास हुआ है। मुझे विश्वास है कि नए ट्रेनिंग कॉम्प्लेक्स से कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग की हमारी पहल को और मजबूती मिलेगी। साथियों, आज सरकार के प्रयासों से देश में युवाओं के लिए नए नए सेक्टर खुल रहे हैं। इन सेक्टर्स में जो नए अभियान सरकार ने शुरू किए हैं, उसकी वजह से रोजगार, स्वरोजगार ऐसे अनेक नए मौके बन रहे हैं। आपने देखा है कि इस बजट में 1 करोड़ परिवारों के लिए रूफटॉप सोलर पावर स्कीम की घोषणा की गई है। अब छत पर सोलर पैनल लगाने वालों को डबल फायदा होगा। उनका बिजली बिल 0 होगा और जो अतिरिक्त बिजली वो पैदा करेंगे, उससे आय भी होगी। रूफटॉप सोलर की इतनी बड़ी योजना से देश में रोजगार के भी लाखों नए अवसर बनेंगे। कोई सोलर पैनल का काम करेगा, कोई बैटरी से जुड़े बिजनेस में आएगा, कोई वायरिंग का काम संभालेगा। ये एक योजना अनेकों स्तर पर रोजगार के मौके बनाएगी। मेरे युवा साथियों, आज भारत दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम है। देश में स्टार्टअप्स की संख्या अब 1.25 लाख के आसपास पहुंच रही है। मुझे ये देखकर बहुत खुशी है कि इनमें बड़ी संख्या में स्टार्टअप्स छोटे छोटे टियर 2, टियर 3 ऐसे शहरों में हो रहे जो जिला केंद्र भी नहीं है। इन स्टार्टअप्स में युवाओं के लिए लाखों रोजगार बन रहे हैं। इस बार के बजट में स्टार्टअप को मिलने वाली टैक्स छूट को आगे बढ़ाने का भी ऐलान किया गया है। इसका बड़ा लाभ हमारे युवाओं को मिलेगा। बजट में रिसर्च और इनोवेशन पर 1 लाख करोड़ रुपए का नया फंड बनाने की घोषणा की गई है। साथियों, आज इस रोजगार मेले के द्वारा भारतीय रेलवे में भी नियुक्तियां हो रही हैं। जब भी कहीं लोगों को परिवार के साथ लंबी यात्रा पर जाना होता है तो भारतीय रेल आज भी सामान्य परिवार की पहली पसंद होती है। भारतीय रेलवे आज एक बहुत बड़े ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के दौर से गुजर रही है। इस दशक के अंत तक भारतीय रेलवे का पूरी तरह कायाकल्प होने जा रहा है। आपको याद होगा 2014 से पहले रेलवे की क्या स्थिति थी। रेलवे लाइनों का इलेक्ट्रिफिकेशन हो या दोहरीकरण करना हो, ट्रेनों का संचालन बेहतर करना हो या यात्रियों के लिए सुविधाएं बढ़ानी हो, इस तरह पहले की सरकारों ने उतना ध्यान नहीं दिया जितना ध्यान दिया जाना चाहिए था। पहले की सरकारें सामान्य भारतीय की परेशानियों के प्रति उपेक्षा का भाव लिए रही। 2014 के बाद हमने ट्रेन यात्रा के पूरे अनुभव को नया करने का अभियान शुरू किया। हमने रेलवे के मॉडर्नाइजेशन और अपग्रेडेशन फोकस किया। इस बार आपने बजट में भी देखा होगा, सरकार ने ऐलान किया है कि वंदे भारत एक्सप्रेस जैसी 40,000 आधुनिक बोगियां तैयार कर उन्हें सामान्य ट्रेनों में जोड़ा जाएगा। इससे सामान्य यात्रियों का सफर और सुविधाजनक हो जाएगा। साथियों, देश में जब कनेक्टिविटी का विस्तार होता है तो उसका प्रभाव एक साथ कई चीजों पर पड़ता है। कनेक्टिविटी बेहतर होने से नए बाजार बनने लगते हैं, पर्यटन स्थलों का विकास होता है। कनेक्टिविटी बेहतर होने से नए बिजनेस तैयार होते हैं और इससे रोजगार के लाखों अवसर बनते हैं। यानी कनेक्टिविटी अच्छी होने का सीधा प्रभाव देश के विकास पर पड़ता है। विकास की गति तेज करने के लिए इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में निवेश बढ़ाया जा रहा है। इस बार के बजट में इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए 11 लाख करोड़ रुपए का निवेश का लक्ष्य रखा गया है। इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पर इतने बड़े खर्च से रोड, रेल, हवाई अड्डे, मेट्रो, बिजली जैसे हर प्रोजेक्ट में तेजी आएगी। इससे रोजगार के नए अवसर भी बनेंगे। साथियों, आज जिन युवाओं को नियुक्ति पत्र मिला है उसमें काफी संख्या पैरा मिलिट्री फोर्स का हिस्सा बनने जा रही है। युवाओं की भी ये अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी आकांक्षा पूरी हो रही है। पिछले कुछ वर्षों में पैरामिलिट्री फोर्स में भर्ती प्रक्रिया को रिफॉर्म किया गया है। इस साल जनवरी से हिंदी और अंग्रेजी के अलावा 13 भाषाओं में लिखित परीक्षा लेने का फैसला लागू हो चुका है। इससे लाखों प्रतिभागियों को अपनी योग्यता साबित करने का समान अवसर मिला है। बॉर्डर पर स्थित जिलों और उग्रवाद प्रभावित जिले का कोटा भी बढ़ाया गया है। साथियों, विकसित भारत की यात्रा में हर सरकारी कर्मचारी का बहुत बड़ा योगदान होगा। आज जो 1 लाख से ज्यादा कर्मचारी हमारे साथ जुड़ रहे हैं, वो इस यात्रा को नई ऊर्जा और गति देंगे। आप चाहे जिस विभाग में रहे, ये याद रखें कि आपका हर दिन राष्ट्र निर्माण के लिए समर्पित हो। आप सभी सरकारी कर्मचारियों की कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग के लिए भारत सरकार ने कर्मयोगी भारत पोर्टल भी लॉन्च किया है। इस पोर्टल पर विभिन्न विषयों से जुड़े 800 से ज्यादा कोर्स उपलब्ध है। अब तक इस पोर्टल से 30 लाख से ज्यादा यूजर्स जुड़ चुके हैं। आप सब भी इस पोर्टल का पूरा फायदा उठाएं और अपनी स्किल्स का विस्तार करें। मैं एक बार फिर आप सभी को नियुक्ति पत्र पाने की, आपके उज्जवल भविष्य की, आप कैरियर के हर पड़ाव में देश को कुछ न कुछ देकर के आगे बढ़े। देश को आगे बढ़ाने में अपना योगदान देकर खुद को आगे बढ़ाएं। मेरी आपको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं हैं। आपके परिवारजनों को भी अनेक अनेक शुभकामनाएं हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Yeah, we were watching Prime Minister live. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was distributing more than 1 lakh appointment letters to newly inducted recruits in government organizations and departments. Also, PM laid the foundation stone of phase 1 of integrated complex Karam Yogi Bhavan at New Delhi. This complex will promote collaboration and synergy amongst various pillars of Mission Karam Yogi. Employment Fair is a step towards fulfillment of the commitment of the Prime Minister to accord highest priority to employment generation in the country. Also, Employment Fair is expected to leverage further employment generation and provide gainful opportunities to the youth for their empowerment and direct participation in national development. Mass appointments carried out under NDA government. Also, PM said that today India is the 3rd largest startup ecosystem in the world. He also said Indian Railways is under a huge transformation and upgradation since last 10 years, which is still the first choice for many citizens. PM said that with better connectivity, country's economy will also grow, and for that, infrastructure growth has been given major importance so that new employment opportunities are created. Well, at the Employment Fair, he also said Employment Fair was held at 47 locations across the country, and the recruitments are taking place across central government departments and state government UTs supporting this initiative. Well, that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter and Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.